Hi guys, this is going to be the pre-lesson for simplifying radicals, just to make sure we're on the same understanding of terms. So we've done squares, right? So let's try this again. So 2 squared, 3 squared, 4 squared, right? We've all done this. It's the same as 2 times 2, which equals 4. 3 times 3 equals 9. 4 times 4 equals 16. The square root, this is the base, right? It just means you multiply the same thing twice, right? Multiply it 2 times. If it was 2 to the third, you would multiply it 3 times. 2 times 2 times 2. This is squares, so you're multiplying it twice. So 3 times 3 is 9, 4 times 4 is 16, and so forth and so on. So square root is asked just what number do you multiply to itself to get this? So the square root of 4 would be 2 because 2 times 2 is 4. The square root of 16 is 4, right? We learned that here. The square root of 100 is 10. These are perfect squares, so they have a whole number, right? There's no decimal. So the square root of 64 is 8. Right? They're perfect squares. It's one of the things that you need to know. The better your understanding of perfect squares are, the easier this lesson is, right? Perfect squares. So if we made a list, and I'm not going to make the whole list, I'll do 2, 10, right? 2 times 2 is 4. 3 times 3 is 9. 4 times 4 is 16. 5 times 5 is 25. 6 times 6 is 36. 7 times 7 is 49. 8 times 8 is 64. 9 times 9 is 81. 10 times 10 is 100. You should know these perfect squares. 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, 64, 81, 100, right? From 2 to 10. 1 is 1. So these are your perfect squares. So if we have, what is the square root of 1? It's 1. Square root of 4. Square root of 4 is 2. Square root of 9 is 3, right? 3 times 3 is 9. Square root of 16 is 4. Square root of 25 is 5. Square root of 36 is 6. Square root of 49 is 7. Square root of 64 is 8. Square root of 9 of 81 is 9. Square root of 100 is 10, right? This is how we go from here to here. The opposite of something squared is square root. And this is the knowledge that you need to know to make this next unit easier. A little bit of the vocabulary. If you have square root of x, this symbol here is the radical. Whatever's inside is the radicand, whether it's a letter or a number. And this is square root. So there's a 2 here. I'm going to make it red. There's a 2 here that's imaginary 2. This is the index. There is a cube root. Like the cube root of 8 asks what number do you multiply to itself 3 times to get 8. So the cube root of 8 would be 2. I'll do this next. I don't want to give you too much information. Just remember that the square root, the index is 2. And you don't need to break the 2. It's imaginary. The term inside is called the radicand, and the symbol itself is called the radical. Yeah, one other thing I'll touch on, just because it is, you might see it again, is again, that's 2 squared is 4, square root of 4 is 2. So if you were to solve a two-step problem that was like x squared plus 4 equals 13, let's do, yeah, I guess 13 is okay. You would move this plus over. Then you'd have x squared equals 9. So again, this is squared. So if you remove this across the equal sign, remember that you are doing the opposite operation, right? The opposite of plus 4 was minus 4. That's why we subtracted 4 from both sides. The opposite operation is the square root. So you would do square root of x squared and the square root of 9. This x squared and square root cancels, and you have x equals 3. And we can put it in here into our original problem. 3 squared plus 4 equals 13. 3 squared is 9 plus 4 equals 13. And 9 plus 4 is 13 equals 13. Just keep it in mind that those are opposites, and that's how you would solve it if you were doing something like this. The opposite is true if we have the square root of x plus 3 equals 13. Different numbers. Again, you would, opposite of plus 3 would be minus 3. So square root of x equals 10. And then again, the opposite of square root is squared. So you would square both sides. I'm going to write it in blue, right? I'm going to square this and I'm going to square that. That means these cancel and I'm left with x equals 10 squared, which is 100. This is just multi-step equation practice. You haven't seen it. Just remember, square root is the opposite of squared. I might throw in some questions like this. Maybe not though, because this lesson and the next one, we're just going to focus on simplifying radicals. And it's important that the better you know your perfect squares, the easier this will be. That's it for this lesson. Again, it's lesson 0. Just to review.